All right, Jim. Our next question was sent to CornyDriveThru at gmail.com from Zach. What was the process like for the call-ups of Cena, Brock, Batista, and Orton? Did you have any influence in the decision to bring them to the main roster? And did you expect them to stand out amongst the other OVW call-outs? Call-ups, not call-outs, call-ups.
Now we're calling you out to high noon there, baby. That was when Jim Ross was still the vice president of talent relations, and therefore we had a good relationship with the office, and we got information, and there was information shared. And the call-ups for everybody was somewhat different, but and with Brock, right off the bat, he didn't actually come straight from OVW because that's when I mentioned Brock is just always has been. He says he doesn't like people. He doesn't want to, he lives in Saskatoon somewhere on a farm with the cows and the llamas, whatever. It was the same thing. He didn't want to be in Louisville. And he whined and griped to the office that his girlfriend in Minnesota was pregnant and got to leave the program about 6 months early and go train with Brad Ringans in a fucking barn. But at least he was, home, right? So that was the call-up process there. And to be honest, since I've said before, I knew Brock was going to get over. He's a modern day Dick the Bruiser. And he's, a freak athlete, but I was unimpressed with the effort that he gave in developmental. And so I didn't mind losing him. He wasn't a linchpin of something that was going to screw my shows up if he was gone. So he was still working out and checking in with the office. And, when he was in Minnesota, and then they started bringing him over for the dark matches or whatever. With who else was on the list? Cena, Orton,
and Batista.
Who else did you say? Batista. With Cena and Orton, they did have them coming up to TVs for dark matches and different things. And I think Orton's first appearance on TV, though, was like an extra in a bar fight they did at a SmackDown in Louisville. But that was when he had just started in OVW. But then, we would coordinate and we would know when guys were being called up or at least taken the next step by going to the dark matches. And obviously they would miss some classes, but they'd be on the road learning there. So that was easy. And that was kind of the absorption period where Cena and Orton, and with Batista, I don't think they did that many dark matches with him. I could be wrong, but that was look at the sight of him. That's why I was trying to explain to him and always tried to explain to him, he couldn't be taking arm drags in the second match as just some guy on the show. Because look at him. Then he overshadowed everybody physically. He could stand next to Kane and you'd go, geez, Glenn needs to do a little working out. So he needed to be, and then they botched it completely in that they made him Devon Dudley's fucking assistant when Devon was a preacher or a deacon or whatever the fuck he was. And that clown outfit they put Batista in covered up his body until he started working out with Triple H. And then that allowed him to get in, but they almost botched it, but in the end it worked out. But I don't remember them taking him on the road for a variety of dark matches, but I remember them giving me a firm date on him that he was finishing up, because I think he did his only job that he had done in OVW to John Cena before he left.
Did you ever think they would bring him up as Leviathan?
Well, when I first did the gimmick, I thought, well, let's see what the fuck. I honestly, it would have been better than what they did. He might have eventually become Batista, but it would have been better than the fucking guy with an armless tuxedo jacket and a collection box around his neck. But again,
Deacon Batista.
But it's the same thing we did with Glenn Kane was Unabomb. Same goddamn gist, big masked guy. I was creating opponents for the monsters they already had. And with Leviathan, if you're say, okay, we got Undertaker versus Kane, we got Kane versus Big Show, we've got Big Show versus Undertaker. You throw Leviathan into the mix, and then you've got 4 giant monsters, and you've got, what's the math? 16 combinations or whatever the fuck it is of guys that all have completely different personalities, gimmicks, and looks, but are the movie monster type that you can do those matches with. And as I've said before, I knew Batista wasn't going to have a long career because he was already a bit older. He was almost 30. He may have been over 30 when he started with us, maybe 31 or 32. Injury prone and not a natural. So let's get something out of this. Give him a gimmick.
All right, Jim.
And remember, we've also worked out that his active WWE career, active pro wrestling career, when you took out injury time, lasted less than 6 years. So I was kind of right about that too.